Your salary isn't just a number. It's the apartment you wake up in, the food you eat without thinking about it, the stress you carry at 2 a.m. when everyone else is asleep, and you're lying there doing maths nobody asked you to do. It's the version of yourself the world decides you are, before you even open your mouth. And at every level, that life looks completely different. Not a little different, completely. 15,000, 30,000, 60,000, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000. 6 salaries. 6 completely different realities. 6 traps nobody warned you about. Let's go. You wake up tired. Not from the work, from the night before it. From lying awake at midnight running numbers that never change. Checking your balance, like it might be different than it was 2 hours ago. It isn't. Your paycheck lands every 2 weeks, already allocated before it arrives. Rent takes the first half. Food and transport finish the rest. What remains, $100, maybe less, you don't call that savings. You call it the buffer. The thin line between you and a problem you cannot afford to solve right now. Then the problem arrives anyway. The phone screen cracks, the tooth starts aching. The car makes a noise it definitely wasn't making last week. So you Google how to fix it yourself at 11 p.m., eating food you didn't really want, because the alternative cost $14 you didn't have. You become very talented at fixing things yourself. Here's what nobody talks about when they talk about being broke. It's not just the money, it's the mental weight of it. The constant low-grade calculation running in the background of everything you do. Can I say yes to this dinner? Can I afford to get sick this month? What happens if something breaks next week? You smile and say you're fine, because explaining it out loud takes more energy than just carrying it quietly. The system isn't cruel to you at 15,000, it's indifferent. Your bank charges you fees for not having enough money to avoid fees. The penalty for being broke is that you become more broke. No one designed it to hurt you. They just built a system optimized for people who already have money and left everyone else to figure out the gaps. You are not failing. You are surviving a system that was never designed to help you win. And doing that every month, without anyone noticing, takes more strength than most people will ever understand. Something loosens. The panic fades. You say yes to the birthday dinner without checking your balance first. You order what you actually want, not the cheapest thing on the menu. And that tiny, quiet act feels like freedom. It isn't. Comfort arrived before security did. And at 30,000, those two things feel identical. The apartment upgrades a little. Subscriptions stack up. That gym membership you use twice a month but can't bring yourself to cancel because canceling means admitting you're not the person who goes to the gym. A $40 monthly donation to a building you occasionally visit to feel guilty in person. But here's the maths nobody shows you. 1 bad month. 1 unexpected bill. 1 week you can't work. Back at 0. Not because you were irresponsible, because there was never a real margin. Just the feeling of one. The comfort numbed the alarm. And while it felt real, the gap between where you are and where you need to be kept quietly growing. The trap at 30,000 isn't poverty. It's the feeling of safety you haven't actually built yet. For the first time, you have a gap. Real money left after the basics. You could invest it. Build with it. Make your money work instead of just making you tired. This is where the game begins. And this is exactly where most people stop playing. Not because they hit a wall, because 60,000 feels like a rival. The apartment is decent. The life is manageable. You stop feeling behind. And not feeling behind slowly, quietly, without you ever deciding becomes the new goal. 10 years pass. Your colleague, same age, same start, just posted about his second investment property. You like the post. You've been meaning to look into that. You're still meaning to. Here's the insight that changes everything about this level. The trap here isn't a lack of money. It's a lack of urgency. At 15,000, urgency was forced on you. Every month was a controlled emergency. At 60,000, the emergency is gone. And without the emergency, most people lose the edge that was quietly building them. The people who break through aren't smarter. They're not luckier. They just found a way to stay hungry when hunger was no longer required. They refused one more day to let comfortable become permanent. 6 figures. The number you used to whisper about like it was a different species of money. The daily stress mostly disappears. You invest properly. Build a real buffer. Think about the future without it feeling like a joke, and the world notices. Banks call you, credit expands. Your manager smiles and says great work. Still doesn't mention the raise, but the smile very genuine. Here's what nobody warns you about at 100,000. Your expenses are watching. The apartment feels too small. The car doesn't match anymore. The social circle quietly upgrades, and keeping up with a 150,000 lifestyle on a 100,000 salary is a very slow, very invisible kind of destruction. You look wealthy. You feel wealthy. But one layoff, one bad quarter, one bill the insurance doesn't cover, and the whole thing shakes in a way that surprises you, because you thought you'd made it. Here's the insight most people only understand too late. Income is not wealth. Wealth is what remains when the income stops. At 100,000, most people are building a lifestyle, not a foundation. The ones who build real wealth here treat the real gap between income and need like a responsibility, not a reward. At 200,000, you are no longer just earning, you are building. $5,000 to $8,000 into investments every single month. Compound interest stops being a concept, it becomes a real number growing while you sleep. For the first time in your life, time is on your side. But here's what nobody puts in the highlight reel. 35 to 45 cents of every dollar disappears before you see it. The wealthy don't earn their way out of taxes. They structure their way out. Through businesses, through assets, through legal frameworks built for people who know they exist. Most people at 200,000 are still thinking like employees, still paying the full rate, while people one level above have already built the structure that makes this number cost them a fraction of what it costs you. Then there's the pressure nobody warns you about. You're doing well now, can you help with? You should upgrade. People notice these things. We can do the nicer holiday, you can afford it. Congratulations. You've officially unlocked the level where everyone has opinions about your money. The people who win here treat every dollar like a decision. Tax minimized, investments intentional, lifestyle controlled. The ones who don't just have more expensive versions of the same problems they had at 30,000, at 500,000 a year, you don't have an income problem anymore. You have a strategy problem. How do you make this money make more money? How do you build something that outlasts you? Your investments generate returns that rival your salary. Doors exist here that aren't visible from any level below. Private deals, tax structures, rooms that only open when the relationship justifies it. But 500,000 a year does not automatically make you wealthy. Lifestyle costs 400,000 if you let it. Tax takes 180,000 if you're not structured. You can earn $500,000 and still feel like you're running just to stand still, because the number changed. But the habits didn't. The people who truly win at this level are the ones who still remember what it felt like to lie awake at 15,000. That memory isn't baggage. It's the only thing that keeps you from losing everything at the level where losing everything is finally possible. So here's what's actually happening across every single level. At 15,000, the system wasn't built for you. At 30,000, comfort arrived before security did. At 60,000, urgency disappeared before discipline replaced it. At 100,000, income got mistaken for wealth. At 200,000, the structure that should exist usually doesn't yet. At 500,000, complexity grows faster than clarity. The salary changes. The trap just gets more expensive. The system doesn't reward the hardest workers. It doesn't reward the highest earners. It rewards the people who see the trap at their level and refuse to walk into it. Most people spend their whole life climbing toward the next level, never realizing the next level has its own version of the same trap. The ladder was built to keep you climbing. Now you've seen the ladder. What you do next, that part is yours. Now, above 1 million, everything we just covered stops applying. Not because it gets harder, because the rules disappear entirely. What replaces them, how the world treats you, what becomes available, what changes about money, power, and access, that is a completely different video. And it is coming. But right now, somewhere in those 6 levels, you recognize something. Maybe it was the midnight balance check. Maybe it was the gym membership you still haven't canceled. Maybe it was the 60,000 comfort you've been calling a rival. Whatever it was, don't close that feeling. Most people watch this, nod along, close the tab, tell themselves they'll think about it later. Later never comes. The ones who don't close the tab are the ones who end up in a different level,